Right now, there has been a battle with parenthood. How to raise children, what to feed into them, what to give them as tools for growth. It is probably the biggest challenge in the last year based on our current circumstances, because everything is at home and you must become the school, the parent, the doctor, everything. Things are changing to where you have to become all the things that we probably were 300 years ago before modern technology. There's a lot of habits that need to be developed. I was raised by 3 women. I think my mother, grandmother, and aunt were touched with a dose of something that is unlikely, because they raised me to embrace my masculinity, not denounce it. My mother, thank you, Mom, even in the circumstances, even in the toughest of situations within her own life, within her own mind and emotions, she was really focused in on making sure that my guidance was as smooth as it could be, as consistent as it could be, and as diverse as it could be. So with having these 3 mamas, that's what I call them, there were 3 different things that I received. So my grandmother blessed me with the idea of persistence and faith, the importance of a spiritual connection, the importance of persistence, moving forward regardless of the circumstances. She has a toughness that is unlike anything in my family on my mother's side. And then there is my mother, discipline, focus, diligence, the ability to analyze things, ask questions, use extraordinary abilities. That's my mother. And then there is my aunt, patience, affection. Ah, yes. The reason why I love cuddles, it's because of my aunt. Thank you, Auntie, for all those hugs. The compassion for others, the ability to socialize in all environments with all different types of people, embracing other human beings, period. These are the things that these 3 women instilled in me, and they did not make me ashamed to be a man. They were not feminists. They were strong women who knew the importance of being a man. They knew this. Now, they did not, teach me all the ins and outs, because they're women, of course, but they knew the importance of this for me coming up. For those of you wondering about my father, he did not play that big of a role as consistent as my 3 mothers, but he was present. Okay? He was present. In fact, I'm going to do an entire video dedicated to him, because there are things that I learned from him, not necessarily having the type of relationship that most sons have with their dads when there's closeness. Okay? But I just recently connected with him, and we had a very long conversation, and it was enjoyable. So there's a lot of stuff that I'll get into in another video about that, just so you know. Focusing on the mothers right now. Raising a child is not easy, but it's also not terrible. Raising a child is not easy, but it's also not terrible. because you are creating the doctors, the architects, the artists, the musicians, the builders, starting with the men fertilizing and then the women creating and releasing. To me, that is the human experience right there. Creation. And to create is to see your creation grow and impact the world. Oh, you have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7 and 8. You used to be there too. Try not to forget that, because you have to put yourself in the minds of the child. Another thing, fear-based teaching. I can only imagine if my 3 mothers were giving me fear-based teaching, then I would not have the courage to record this right now. There are many aspects of my personality that are in place because they taught without fear, without panic, without worry. They trusted, they relied on their faith, and they were able to pull from that, being in alignment, the very things that I talk about in this series, and pour that into me. There was no fear-based anything. So therefore, there's no reason to rebel. No reason for me to rebel against them. No reason for me to counter their teachings with some challenge as a teenager. None of that. None of that. I listened. I applied. This is what parenting does. You are a guide, and you hope that your guidance is something that the child will take in and apply, because at the end of the day, it will be their decision, especially if they're alone. And just because you are the parent does not mean you are always right. There are some things that the child can feel and sense. Remember, children are not jaded by the world. They are the ultimate receptors. So they might be able to hear and see things that you as the parent cannot hear or see. Perhaps you are not open in that moment, but the child is. Raising a child, I can only imagine, challenges you because you now have to have the conversations that you weren't willing to have before. You now are facing the fears that you didn't have to face before, because you have to be courageous for your child or for the children. Now more than ever, that's being tested. But remember, the key is to remain open and steady in the idea that you have created a life, and you're looking into this life that is a reflection of you. You were there. The first 5 years, crucial. Those 5 years, don't wait for them to be 7, 8, 9. Don't wait for them to be 12, 13, 14 to start having those mature conversations. Do it early, depending on how he or she learns, right? Some kids are very mature very early, and some it takes a while. So you teach based on that. My mother did this exactly. She saw that I was very mature for my age, so by age 8 and 9, I was receiving adult-themed material because I was mature enough to handle it. Okay? You have to pay attention to how your child learns. Not every child receives the same way. Some are ahead. So you teach based on how they flow. But if you don't pay attention to how they flow, then how would you know? You can't assume that just because this child is 4, 5, or 6 that they can't handle certain things. They may be ahead. They may have come out of your womb ahead. Some children have that. They are born ahead. They are born already knowing. And then some are not. But you, as the parent, have to pay attention to how they are receiving the information and conducting themselves, and then teach based on that. Remember, just because you are a parent does not mean you have all the answers. Sometimes the children can teach you. So that is my challenge for you. Try and figure out, what type of child do you have? What type of children do you have? Who are they? How do they learn? Who are they going to be? Figure that out before your next plan. Figure that out. How do they learn? Who are they? Who are your children? Who are they? And then take that information and use that as the base of your next moves in terms of teaching them or guiding them. A guide. It will be their life eventually. It will be their life. It will be their decisions. So all you can do is give as much knowledge as you can. It starts in the home. There's no politician that can do it for you. There's no actor that can do it for you. There's no rapper that can do it for you. There's no athlete that can do it for you. They can't do it for you. You do it. It starts in the home. What will you do to fill your children with the knowledge that they need? Very powerful beings. You're building them up. The energy they have, the love, how they give and receive it. These are key now, because it will make a difference in who they eventually become. Do it before they turn 8. Don't wait. Because if you do it early, 8, 9, and 10 will be easy. 13, 14, 15 will be easy. 16, 17 will be easy. For those of you that have already done it, good. Is it too late if you haven't? No, it isn't. It just requires a lot more work. You would rather the children learn the hard stuff from you than have to learn it from the streets. Because by the time they get out there into the world, thanks to you, they'll know how to deal with it. They will know how to deal with it thanks to you. You gave them the template for damn near everything that they will face. Tough to do it all, tough to cover it all, but at least you gave them the template. At least they know. They'll know how to deal with it by age 9, 10, 11. They'll know. And with everything being as advanced as it is today, it's important for them to have early development because things have changed. I'm from Generation X, totally different ballgame back in 1986. Can't compare that to 2021 or the 2020s. Therefore, it's important for these kids to get it in early. Get it in early. Don't be afraid. They won't be afraid. They will face adversity with strength. They will be like the silent generation. They will be like the generation that went through far worse than what we're dealing with right now, yet created some amazing things. They will be like your grandparents. They will be like your great-grandparents. Ah, now that's something powerful in human form. Believe in what you are doing, parents. This is who you are now. Do your best. Do your best. And don't be afraid. God is in you. Trust the children.